Good afternoon and welcome to the PG&E Retirement Show. I'm Dan Leonard from Marathon Retirement Planning. And today we're just going to throw out some numbers at you, not really a top 10 list, but 10 numbers that I think you should know about. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome to the PG&E Retirement Show. I'm Dan Leonard, Marathon Retirement Planning. And as you know, we're live here on Facebook every Monday, 2:30 in the afternoon. We take the videos and re-edit them and put them back up on our YouTube channel so you can see them all on the Marathon Retirement Planning YouTube channel. So let's jump in. I'm going to try to, I'll try to go through them, but I'm going to be reading a few of these. So first off, some economic numbers. And I got these out, the first 5 of these from First Trust on a publication they put out today. First, 148 million Americans are currently working. That is the highest amount of Americans in the workforce. Excuse me one second. A number of Americans in the workforce since, all time. So that is obviously a great number, and have more people working than ever before is a good thing. Second, non-farm payrolls or civilian payroll. Two numbers are kind of the same but a little bit different, but both of those year over year are up over $2.5 million or 2.5 million per year, or this year versus last year. There's another 2.5 million people in the workforce. So that's good. More Americans, again, like the first one, in the job force working. Average wages up 2.7% year over year, and 3.3% if you just take the people that are actually still in the workforce. So that takes out the person with a large salary that retires, that's replaced by a younger worker with a very low payroll. That will drag that number down approximately by 0.6%. But 3.3 is the year over year kind of increases in wages. So that means more money in people's pockets to spend. Private sector is creating more jobs than the government right now. So a larger private sector generally is good for the economy because, again, that money goes to businesses which are owned by individuals. Individuals spend the money, businesses spend the money, and that helps the economy. And then finally, the 25 to 54% or 54-year-old population. So that's pretty well the majority of working people. Right now, we're at 81.8% of that cohort is either looking for work or working. It's been higher in the past, as high as 84%, and that was in 98 and 99. And if you were here in the Bay Area in 88 or in 98 or 99, you probably remember how congested everything was. Then the recession kind of took over and things trailed back off. But we're within 3 percentage points of that number, so that's another good number. All 5 of those point to good economic conditions, which if we look at what was happening in the market over the last year, in all of 2017, we hit a record high in the stock market 70 times. In the first 26 days of 2018, we hit a record high 11 times. So that's in probably 20-something trading days. So basically every other day we were hitting a new high. We have not hit a new high since then. And that basically is where we're starting to see a bit of a disconnect or a bit of uncertainty about the markets is, hey, we've got all these good fundamental numbers that are showing reasons why we should be growing. But on the other hand, the market is not hitting new highs. So this one isn't really a number, but it's more of a statement. And it is that if you want excitement, go to Vegas and gamble. Most of what we're trying to do and people that are trying to invest their money for retirement is good long-term fundamentals. So we don't worry about not hitting a new high every other day, but we look at the fundamentals, and the fundamentals say that the workforce is growing, people are creating new jobs, that creates a demand. The demand does drive inflation a little bit, which the Fed has been trying to do, but they're all good things for the market. Now, here's another reason why you don't want excitement in your investment strategy. In the last 20 years, the average investor has gotten a 4% return. The average the market has done is 8.25%. And the reason for that is people are in and out and not doing fundamentally sound things with their investments. Now, you can trade and you can have that excitement, but there's a difference between trading and excitement and gambling and fundamentally sound investments. There's a place for both of them, but the money that you're going to chase for trading and excitement should be money you can afford to lose, because more often than not, that's what happens. Now, I'm not going to debate whether, I've traded this or I've traded that and made money. That's entirely possible. It's a matter of, if you added up all your winners and all your losers, for more people than not, again, there's more losers. So we're trying to get excitement out of it. Now, another thing to consider is, where should you be investing? Well, the U.S. markets have outperformed the international markets, and this was a piece I saw from Hartford earlier this week, or end of last week, beginning of this week, that the international markets have underperformed the U.S. markets for 7.1 years. Since 1974, the average period of outperformance or underperformance is 7.2. So the U.S. market is a tenth of a year away from hitting the average amount. Now, we know from looking at the stock market over the last several years, you can have periods of outperformance that are longer and shorter than normal, but we're about at the point where, on an average, which really means nothing, but on an average, the international market should start to show some strength, or should come back into favor. Now, again, you can make plenty of arguments why that won't happen. My point is, if you're underallocated or do not have international as part of your portfolio, consider adding some of that into your portfolio as a bit of a hedge that, hey, if the U.S. markets do slow and the international markets pick up, you have some exposure to it, because most people are usually have what they call a home market bias. The majority of your money is in the country in which you live. So some of you may or may not know, I lived in Victoria, British Columbia for 5 years, and when I was there, you saw it. Lots of people had large Canadian holdings as part of their portfolio. Nothing wrong with that. But if you look at the Canadian market as part of the world market, they had a disproportionately large amount of money there. Same thing goes in the U.S. Historically, a lot of people have had more money in the U.S. market, and currently we're less than or just about half of the world capitalization. So if you have more than half of your money in U.S. stocks, which most people do, that means you have an overallocation to that market relative to what the world market is. Now, again, I'm not here to try and tell you you have to be exactly the same as every country around the world, because that's not realistic. But if you're underweighted international, meaning you have less than 20% or 10%, kind of depending on where you are on the time horizon, kind of the older you are, probably the less you'd have in international. But if you have less international than that, you may want to consider talking with your advisor about adding some of that in there. And we're happy to help you do reviews on portfolios and show you what we think a good balance would be. So those are 9 numbers I think you need to know. And there is a 10th. It's not investment related. It's tax related. And that is, you now are down to 11 days before the mid-year or the June 15th estimated tax payments are due. So most people that are W-2 employees don't worry about paying estimated taxes. But if you're retired or you do pay estimated taxes, it's not this Friday, but next Friday that those estimated taxes have to be mailed in for. So there's some numbers for you to think about. I know it's a lot. If you've got any questions or comments, as always, my name is Dan Leonard. You can reach me here at 925-726-4015 or the Dan at mrppfg.com. And if you'd like to set up a time to talk, you can schedule at this link here, the bit.ly.pge call, and the PGE and the C in call are all cap sensitive. So appreciate your time for dialing in. Sorry about the phone ringing and the interruption right there at the beginning of the call. But thank you. Look forward to talking with you again soon. And we'll be back again next Monday at 2:30. Thank you very much.